Now, a very important segment or a very important sector to study is Indian Railways as an entire theme, right? Because railways, if you look at in the budget allocation every year, it forms a very, very important constituent, and the entire growth of Indian economy is also dependent on Indian railways. So what we will do in this discussion, we'll have an entire deep dive of the present railway system, right? In budget, what is expected, what are the growth perspectives we will be focusing, right? And even we'll discuss about what are some of the prominent companies in the Indian railway as a theme. And apart from that, we also had one index which has been a custom index for the entire railway theme, right? On the railway PSU theme itself, we had an entire index, and we'll see how to go in detail about that index to check what are the key constituents, how to check the fact sheet. We will be deep diving today. And also in this discussion, we will study about one more important theme in railways, which is the Kavach, right? Kavach theme, which is mostly on anti-collisioning or the protective layer for the Indian railways. What are the growth perspectives? Even the last budget, how much money is allocated there? And even in Kavach system wise, what are all the companies which are available for us to do a deep dive, we will be discussing, right? As a quick disclaimer, whatever the stocks which we discuss, do not consider it as a buy, add, or a sell recommendation. Rather, use this for educational purpose, because this will help you to further deep dive on the companies within the sector, and even any sector. If you are researching, this will help you to understand more as a case study, right? As a case study. And as we are SEBI registered, and even some of the stocks I may be holding, or even in our community to our platinum members, when we have the weekly tracker session, we would be discussing on the same, right? So have a process and a strategy to invest, rather than just considering them as a tip or a recommendation. Okay. So now what we will do, let's deep dive on the entire railway as a theme. We will categorize our discussion into 6 parts. We'll discuss about the entire overview of the Indian railway system. We'll discuss about the factors which we should consider in the budget 2025. Third, investment into the railway sector, right? What has been some prominent steps which is taken by the Indian government regarding investing into the Indian railway sector, and what are all the prominent companies which we can decode and which we can study more further, we will discuss. Fifth, we had an exclusive index also which has been recently added into the Nifty index, which is your Nifty India Railways PSU index fund, right? PSU index fund. Even there are some AMCs also which have entered into this fund, right, as an NFO. And the sixth, we'll be closing this discussion discussing about Kavach, which is one of the very important segment in the Indian railways, which is an extension where there is a lot of growth perspectives in this segment as well, right? Which is intertied with the railway segment, right? With the railway segment. So first of all, on the entire railways as a sector overview, trains are the backbone of any nation, right? Either you consider for the individual travel purpose or transportation of goods, right? Freights, the logistics. Indian Railways is a very, very important segment, right? Even you consider tourism as a sector, right? For the tourism to grow, for the general passenger wise, we need a lot of growth. Even the Vande Bharat, right? The modernization of railways, trains form an important segment for the entire economy also to move, right? For the entire GDP also, it forms a very important role. And second, Indian Railways is the fourth largest railway network in the world, right? So we have to be like on the entire sector also a very good positioning, even in the entire globe, right? Both the road and on the rail network, India has a separate recognition. And even the kind of a population, right? 140 crore plus population, the growth perspectives are also humongous in this segment, right? And Indian Railways, just to have a quick data pointers, every day, right? Like 13,000 passenger trains are run, carrying over 2 crore passengers, right? Over 20 million passengers. And on the freight trains or during the or about the logistics, more than 7,400 trains carrying millions of tons of cargo, right? And next to shipping, right? Railways has been the well sought out transportation uh, stream. And here, when we discuss about Kavach, right? In today's discussion, for the transportation or for the logistics to improve, this also forms a very, very important segment. And regarding the employers, right, or the employee, the number of employees which are there, Indian Railways has been one of the largest employers globally, right, with almost a 12 lakh employees, right, with over a 12 lakh employees. And the sector is undergoing a transformational phase. During the financial year 24-25, almost 2.62 lakh crores on the capital expenditure. And even right now, in this budget, there are expectations that we can see a further 15 to 20 percentage enhancement here, right? Enhancement. So this is one segment or one sector where it has a huge capital expenditure going on every year. And the companies which we dissect or the companies which we focus, and as long as the companies are able to execute the order book prominently, can see a very good growth. And for the Indian government, right, or for the economy to move, modernization, that too, like station redevelopment, high speed rail initiatives, right, or a shift towards renewable energy are all some of the important segments which are tied up, right? And as you dig deeper, there are many sectors which are interlinked with the railway theme as well, right? With the railway theme. Now, if you look at budget 2025, right? Budget 2025. So this budget in 2025, the expectation of a higher allocation of funds is in talks. And as you see in this week, because of this expectation, we have seen a very good move in the entire railway stocks also, right? So during the budget, if we see an enhancement as per the expectation, which is higher than the last year budget, we can see a further rally also picking up, right? Also picking up. So let's see in this budget, if we see around 2.8 lakh crores or around 3 lakh crores, if it is allocated to the Indian Railways, as per the expectation, we can see a further move. And if it is not to that tune, maybe we can see the increase also to be reversing, right? To be reversing. And actually, if you look at it, we need a higher allocation here because there's a lot of improvement, right? And there's a lot of growth story in this sector. And capital expenditure will be in the spending on infrastructure would be more into new lines, track upgrades, right? Rolling stock, which is like introducing new wagons, right? And even station modernization is also very important. And the fact is, even though we are the fourth largest in the Indian rail network, right? Many stations and a huge number of daily passenger trains on the station wise, on the quality or on the maintenance, we are still lagging. There is a lot of room for growth there, right? There is a lot of room. And the government's focus on infrastructure will help many sectors also, right? Because infrastructure development is a major factor of economic growth for the Indian government, right? So infrastructure, or even in the last a meeting, or even in the last election also, Mr. Modi has clearly mentioned infrastructure and manufacturing is one of the key sector where he is clearly focusing. And even yes, infrastructure helps in the economic growth, and that's why Indian government focus is also on it. And fourth, it has a multiplier effect, right? What do you mean by multiplier effect? If the investment into railways has been increasing, it creates a ripple effect, right? A ripple effect. So not only on the railway theme, right? Not only on the railway theme, like let's say it creates more jobs, right? The demand for related industries, right? For example, on the companies or the sectors which are interlinked with railways, like the forward and the backward integration, like your steel, yes, it will get a very good demand. Construction, and even on the cement industry, it has a multiplier effect, right? The entire railway uh, increase in the budget will have a multiplier effect, right? Now, what we will do, investment into the railway sector, right? Investment into the railway sector, if we discuss, the first pointer, railway sector has been like very dynamic, and it represents significant growth opportunities. How many of you feel in this live session, in the railways there are a lot of opportunities where we can see a growth, right? You talk about the stations wise, it requires a modernization, right? If you talk about the speed or the transit time, comparing China, right, or even comparing any developed economies, India wise, we see a lot of room where we can increase on the travel time, right, or on the speed which we can increase, which will reduce the travel time. And even we have seen Vande Bharat, which has been a very big hit, and we need more number of trains or even a higher trains on that is required, right? So railway sector as such is very dynamic, right? Is very dynamic. Second, Indian Railways is a cornerstone of India's transportation and logistics network, right? If you see on the pharma or even on the FMCG goods, right, or even on the textile, transportation or logistics for the entire depending sectors also is morely dependent on Indian Railways. Third, government driven modernization, right? Government focus also has been there, and government's more number of schemes is also helping the railway sector to modernize. And Indian Railways is integral to key industries such as steel, cement, and manufacturing, right? So the earlier point which we have discussed about ripple effect, right? So it's not only about the capital expenditure happening in railways, the sub projects or the sub contracts will help other segments, be it into steel, cement, or even in manufacturing related sectors. And now if we discuss about companies, what are all the companies which are interlined or intertied up with the defense as a sector? We have key companies like RVNL, right? Rail Vikas Nigam Limited. We have companies like IRFC, Indian Railway Finance Corporation, your IRCON, right? IRCON International Limited, your Jupiter Wagons Limited, right? Texmeco Rail, Titagar Rail Systems, IRCTC, Railtel Corporation, right? Rights Limited. So we have um, all these companies which are interlinked with the Indian railway sector, Indian railway theme. And if you look at RVNL, right, if the focus is more on the project execution, infrastructure development, more capital expenditure will invite more projects for RVNL. Similarly, IRFC, it is the sole fundraiser for Indian Railways, right? Indian Railways. So the more capital expenditure happening, the more spending happening, it invites more financing also, right? This financing will benefit Indian Railway Finance Corporation. IRCON International, right, which specializes in railway construction and engineering. Increased product projects will increase the revenue growth for IRCON, right? So the more number of projects, the more railway construction, more railway engineering, will enhance the revenue growth for Aircon. Jupiter Wagons, a company focusing more on wagons manufacturing, right? And even on the components, a higher capital expenditure on the rolling stock, which means on the rolling wagons, if they're focusing, it will again have a very good revenue growth in the Jupiter Wagons Limited stock. And even we have Titagar, Texmaco, even IRCTC, right? On the it's a clear monopoly on the ticketing system, right? Your Railtel, Rights Limited, right? Rights Limited. Even what you can do as an investor, right? Who is focusing more on the railway theme, right? Who is focusing more on the railway theme, you can form a basket of stocks once we see a momentum here. And among the basket of railway stocks, you don't overexpose yourself, right? Maybe like 0.5 percentage allocation, right? Or even a 0.25% allocation in 4 or 5 stocks within that particular theme. And as you see a particular stock which has been increasing or which has been picking up strength, a very good price and volume picking up, you keep increasing your allocation there. Any stock which touches your stop loss or which has been weak, it automatically triggers an exit, right? So by following a basket entry, the stocks which are picking up in strength, and even during the budget, if the allocation has been in line or it has been higher than the last year's budget, if it has been progressive for the Indian Railways, we can see a further move, and we can ride by investing into the basket approach, right? By investing into the basket approach. And now, very recently, right, we have also seen Nifty India Railways PSU Index Fund, right? Railways PSU Index Fund. If you log into niftyindices.com and you go to indices, under thematic indices, right? Under thematic indices, we have Nifty India Railways PSU Index, right? Indices, thematic indices. And here, Nifty India Railways Public Sector Unit, right? Nifty India Railways Public Sector Unit. So here, this is a custom index focusing more on India Railway as a theme, right? So this comprises of all the public sector stocks which are either owned by Ministry of Railways or which cater to the Indian Railways, right? Which cater to the Indian Railways. So this is a composition of only Indian Railways PSU sector, right? Indian Railways PSU sector. And if you come down and if you click on fact sheet, right? If you click on fact sheet, you'll get to know what is the entire portfolio allocation or what is the entire breakout of this index, right? Of this index. So yes, Nifty India Railways PSU Index aims to track the performance of PSUs from the Nifty 500, right? From the entire universe of Nifty 500, the stocks which are either owned by Ministry of Railways or even the companies which cater to the Indian Railways are under this index, right? Are under this index. And if you look at it, the major sectors, construction, financial services, consumer services occupies a major weightage. Construction is almost like 25.37% weightage. And within the constituents by weightage, we have IRFC, almost 19% weightage here, right? RVNL, 17%. IRCTC 17.25, right? Container Corporation, NTPC, Aircon, BEL, right? Rights, Railtel. So these are all the top constituents by weightage, right? Top constituents by weightage. So this segment of Nifty India Railways PSU Index Fund. So someone who are like, sir, I wanted to consider this as a theme and I wanted to invest for a longer term, maybe like 3 years, 5 years kind of a growth, right? This is a way where you can enter in the mutual fund kind of a route, right? So index fund, in the mutual fund route, you can enter. This is not for a short term. This is like having a horizon of more than 3 years or even a 5 years horizon, you should look. And as I have discussed, this mainly focuses on public sector stocks which are owned either by Ministry of Railways or which caters directly to the Indian Railways, right? Directly to the Indian Railways. Now, before we close this discussion, right? Before we close this discussion, let us also discuss on Kavach, right? Kavach. What exactly is Kavach? So, Kavach recently, right? Even in July 2024, we had Kavach 4.0, which has been launched and even integrated. So, this is India's cost-effective train protection system, right? So, till now, we have been discussing about how much capital expenditure can be done, how much it can be increased, either on the construction wise, either on the railway wagons, right? Infrastructure development. Protection is also very, very important. And the fact is, in the Indian Railways, one of the segment which is lagging is protection. How many of you agree with me on this? Type it as agree, right? Type it as agree. So protection is one thing which is lagging, and there is a lot of focus, and there is a very good order book also. Majority of the companies have been sitting with, right? So Kavach, it is an indigenously developed ATP system. ATP stands for Automatic Train Protection System, right? And it ensures safety by automatically halting a train if another train is detected on the same track within a prescribed distance, right? It's like a automatic protection system, right? Protection system. And in the Union Budget 24-25, there is a very good amount of government allocation also to the tune of 557 crores. And even this amount is further expected to increase as we move forward, right? And even very recently, there are a good number of companies which has got a very good order book, right? Which has got a very good pie in its Kavach related manufacturing as a theme. And why is Kavach important? In this kind of a very vast network of Indian railways, which is in the fourth largest, right? One important problem to be solved is on the safety, right? Is on the safety. So yes, on the Indian railways, when they're focusing on the infrastructure development, Kavach forms a very, very important constituent there, right? And if you look at the key features here in the entire Kavach, right? So they focus on collision avoidance, right? Speed control. Even if the speed has been increasing, right? On the speed controlling, also it focuses, right? Increasing the safety, enhanced safety, and also on centralized monitoring. We will not go much deeper into it, but yes, recently also, if you observe in the last couple of months, right? In various states, with the lack of centralized monitoring, there have been some mishaps happening, right? So Kavach focuses on centralized monitoring. This is one of the very key feature. And if you look at companies which are dependent, right, or which are focusing more on the Kavach, or even the companies which have got a very good order book in the Kavach are one, yes, Karnax Microsystems, which is also like one of the stock which is a very volatile kind of a stock, right? Karnax Microsystems has got a very good order book in the Kavach projects, right? HBL Engineering, erstwhile earlier called as HBL Power, one of the very important OEM, original equipment manufacturer, comes into the same segment of Kavach, right? Even Keynes Technologies has also been in the Kavach, and also Quadrant Future Tech Limited, right? One of the very recent IPO. Even after the listing of IPO also, right? Even we have had our discussion every week in our weekly mastermind session. We discuss about prominent IPOs, right? And even whoever have applied after attending our weekly mastermind session from the application, this stock has moved more than 100% within couple of days, right? And even this is the company which focuses on the Kavach projects, and even it has a specialized cable network also as one of its product segment, right? So this also forms under Kavach segment, right? So if you see overall as an entire railway theme, right? As an entire railway theme which we have discussed now, so railways occupies a very important role in every year Indian budget, and the allocation also is very, very significant in the railway sector, right? In the railway sector. So now in the last couple of trading sessions, we have seen a very good renewed interest in majority of the railway stocks. So if you look at, is it something where we jump in and immediately enter into it? The answer is no. Because any stock or even any sector as such, if you're investing based on a news or based on an event, it's not an ideal process, right? You have to understand on the overall growth prospects of the sector, overall growth prospects within the company. And if that has been sustaining over a period of time, and if the order book is also executing or it is in line, that is where we can see a good growth in the entire segment as such, right? So right now we have budget on Feb 1st, right? So if the allocation towards Indian Railway is as per the expectation, or comparing last year, if we see a increase, and as discussed or as have been in the news, like a 15 to 20 percentage increase if it is expected, and if it is materializing, if that is coming out in budget, with that kind of a positive move, this kind of a run may further continue, right? If at all, if it is not happening, or if it is going below it, maybe we can see a reversal also, right? So we can keep it in our watch list. We can track, we can study more on the segments, we can study more on the stocks related, and consider railway as a theme for your long term investment also, right? For your long term investment. And always remember, the stock performance will mainly decided, or is mainly dependent on the long term execution of projects, the long term growth in quarterly performance of the company.